Hi, everyone, and welcome to Hello Complex, the podcast where we explore the rise of agentic AI and what it means for the future. I'm Tachi, co founder and CEO at Playgrounds and the creators of Arc Ecosystem. Today, I'm joined by Piotrek, the founder of Listen, a key project in the Arc ecosystem. They are the forefront of designing autonomous AI agents and agentic systems in the crypto space. Their product is Listen, your personal crypto broker designed to help you trade, run custom strategies, and learn and research. In today's podcast, we'll be diving right into the intersection of AI and crypto, specifically DeFi, or commonly known as DeFi with AI. We'll be covering everything from the crypto space to the AI space, what it means to build in public, the challenges and successes of building a startup in this cutting edge, fast paced industry, and what it all means for society, business, creativity, and you. Let's get to it. Hi, Piotrek. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm good. Tachi, thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. Always glad to catch up. And today, I'm really happy that we're getting to hang out on our first episode of Hello Complex. Uh, Before we dive into some serious stuff, I'm curious. When you tell people you're building AI for crypto, what's the most common reaction you get, and what's the most surprising misunderstanding?
I would say, so on the first glance, right, demos with AI are really powerful. So especially when somebody checks out the product, they're like, wow, this is extremely cool.
Yeah, that's usually the same reaction I get as well. Like this is something that we haven't seen before. I think, with the advent of crypto and blockchain tech in general, it was quite mind-blowing to see, what the future could look like with finance and the different kinds of applications that are possible within the crypto space. And then you bring in AI in there and it's a completely new paradigm, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as someone who uses LLMs loads, right, every day, day over day, I'd say AI on its own is extremely powerful. And then when you blend in some of those tools in agentic workflows, you can cook up some interesting stuff.
Amazing, amazing. Well, before we dive into all of this and what it all means, I'd like to, maybe give you an opportunity to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your origin story and how you found yourself in this crazy, crazy space we're in. So if you can walk me through your origin, like where did you start from? What's your background?
Right. How much time do we have? Like, I guess just like a quick rundown. I haven't, well, somewhat of like a non-traditional background. I got into tech just by building stuff. Pretty much been a founder since day one. Uh, for well, for about 2 to 3 years, I'd just like build things, whatever felt the most meaningful at the time. Afterwards, I got into a big tech company, worked there for about almost 3 years doing engineering. And yeah, I quit mostly to pursue Listen and just like go fully into Web3 because yeah, I've pretty much been in and out of Web3 since 2017. So for a while now, kind of been observing what's happening. I built some cool stuff that runs in production as well. But ultimately, yeah, there is so much more to it, man. Like I'm really excited for like the future.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. I'm excited as well. And I'm also excited to be building alongside with you. Could you walk me through when did you have that aha moment? So, when did you realize that AI and crypto needed to converge? And what were you doing at the time when you came to that realization?
It's a good question. So I think it's more of like a process. There was not like a single aha moment, I wouldn't say. It's more of like a convergence of some of the patterns that you see, right? So I had the opportunity to see AI from like the very beginning. Back in the day, I used to work on traditional. Well, you couldn't even call it AI. It was more like a machine learning thing, right? Like convolutional network, some of the computer vision stuff. And back in where it was still called like natural language processing, right? Times where ChatGPT didn't exist. I remember like I would mess with like the early models. I had this good friend who'd like introduce me to it, and he showed me initially how like you can code with the model, right? And he would show me how you can like generate code. And at the time, like there was like at Google there was like Palm. There was no Gemini, right? ChatGPT was like the like times before ChatGPT 3. Basically, there was no Anthropic, nothing like that. Very early, and he'd show me like how you can generate some code, and then if there's an error you can pipe it back and ask the model to fix it, right? And it was at that time it was not as nearly as powerful as it is now, right? But already then that was very interesting, and I could see essentially this completely transformative impact that AI has had on pretty much all of the industries out there, right? Obviously, the ones with kind of like instant feedback, like software engineering, the impact is more transformational. But like even now, like it's hard to picture any business that doesn't use AI at all, right? And now I've seen a bunch of cool industry applications evolve, right? And I kind of like saw how this transformative impact is touching more and more of those industries. And Web3, I found that the chatbots at the time, that was not it was not using AI's full potential in a way. And like I always want to kind of like explore and continue to research and try to like find where the value truly lies. And I think that was the process where I started to like mess with it more and more and look into like because yeah, all of a sudden, right, agents came out, right, and everyone would like look for applications of this technology, right? And it was hard even for traditional businesses, right? And there was a lot of hype, and oftentimes more hype than actual use cases, even for traditional businesses, right? Not to even mention crypto. And the hype, started to settle somewhat, and we started to see some like industry-wide apps, right? Agentic apps. And we would see like big enterprise products start to use that. But in terms of Web3, even though we have some level of it, right? I think we're still very early. So yeah, that was kind of like the intuition, right? And I wanted to be at the frontier of it because yeah, I've just used AI so much, right? Like I once counted the prompts and it was like a five-figure number, of how many prompts I iterated through. That was even before Cursor was out. And like those IDEs that provide you assistance. I found myself back in the day just like piping stuff directly using like CLI executables that allow you to interface with the models, right, into my workflow. And yeah, now Cursor is best probably. I don't want to get too sidetracked, right? But like there's those like Windsurf and those other editors, and I do use them on a daily basis. But yeah, like I imagine there's still a lot of potential, right? In terms of like we don't have this kind of like industry standard product that would be like generate tremendous amounts of value in crypto that is closely tied to AI.
I love that. I love that. And that's an interesting segue into, validation, especially in the early days of when you started formulating what the potential could be with these technologies. And so how did you validate that this intersection was actually a real problem worth solving? And what was the first signal that told you, yep, this is the right path and I want to dedicate my effort, my resources, and my expertise into not just exploring but building within the space.
Okay. So this is going to be more of like general kind of AI answer. So
Yeah.
it's essentially the entire process, right? Is just about because if you imagine a neural network at its core, it's just like a black box that, given some inputs, it's supposed to spit out the most likely outputs, right? It's like a function. And now, what we've been seeing, right, is the rise of. So first of all, right now there is the transformer. right, architecture that allows to do something that previously we're not able to. We can apply the same networks with multiple modalities and across a number of different realms of knowledge, right? We can perform like massive training. So in the past, right, there'd be those small specialized networks. And what transformers unlock, right, is the ability to use a lot more context and, well, to put in like well in more of like a human way, is like we just help the models see more of the real world, kind of, right? So the multiple modalities example is a great one, where effectively a word, right, or an image, they can represent something that is semantically similar, right? And now it makes so much sense, right, to be able to support both, and he's learning from both to solidify, the understanding of the world that the neural networks possess. And now, so my general goal from the start was to expand the amount of information that we can allow the models to use in order to navigate given industries better, right? So that's essentially like I feel that still the mission, right? And context is the limiting factor for growth for most applications, right? It's just really difficult to encapsulate all of the valid information, and this is also why I see a lot of people fail with AI, because they don't paint a complete picture, right? So like the steps that I took, right? I don't believe in like small kind of experiments. I wanted to put it to test, and just like same as in case of agentic applications regarding, let's say, software engineering, right? Just enable the models to freely navigate, right, in this fully agentic way, and kind of like listen to them, right? I also believe in kind of like how do you call it? The ensuring that the model is having a good time, right? Giving it the access to tools, right? So it can take initiative and kind of like
Yeah.
see, how it evolves. And this approach is generally super cool. And I think like an infinite kind of agent is an idea that I've had for a while. Really difficult to execute upon well, right? But just yeah, that's essentially like the direction that I see. I think it's all about like expanding the amount of tools that model has at its side, right? And effectively expanding the amount of context that it can possess. At the same time, ensuring that the information, you reduce the noise and ensure that it's good context. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
a bit of a chaotic answer, but yeah.
Yeah.
At the end of the
No, that
day,
totally makes sense.
yeah.
Totally makes sense. And okay, so you've listed out quite a lot of, pathways and variables that one has to think about when building with AI and especially in the crypto space as well. And as a founder, who's building in the space, what was harder to navigate early on? Like, as far as technical complexity goes, and also the storytelling of AI and crypto. What were the initial things that you decided, I need to focus on these few parameters first to validate my idea and know if there's worthwhile, need to put my energy into this?
So, well, the way I saw it initially, right? I started building infrastructure, and
Yeah.
very early, I had like a very good foundation because before I started to truly like join the two, I would work mostly on the infrastructural and protocol side of things, right? So more of the kind of like nitty gritty of blockchain. And initially, that was infrastructure. That was just like providing the link between blockchain and AI. And I wanted to validate the idea by just like releasing a product, and that's something that people kind of like drove, right? Everybody wanted to see an agent. Not a lot of people are technical in crypto, which is, well, quite surprising, but also not. And people don't read code like books, right? It's hard for them to kind of like indulge in just like source code repositories. So this interface, right, that I provided was like this listen agent, right? that can allow you to do a number of different things. And that was a that was an extremely good way of continuing to research. I don't believe in research that's just like purely for the sake of it. I think it always has to be product driven. I think the the biggest breakthroughs that we've had, it's because of the problems that we were trying to solve, rather than the kind of like philosophical research, the research for the love of research. So yeah, just building this product, right? It's taught me a lot of things, and I'm happy to share. But it's a lot, right? And some of it is probably controversial as well.
Okay, we love controversial topics as well. But this has been a really good foundation that you set for yourself, and it makes perfect sense from where you started to where you ended and where you are today. I suppose this is a good place to transition to understanding the specific problems that you were solving. Uh, let's start with a very simple problem definition. For someone who understands AI but is also crypto curious, you're in R&D, you're building a product, and vice versa. Can you explain the core problem that your company solve and what breaks without AI in the crypto world?
I'd say the biggest issue would be the kind of like task switching that a user has to
Mm,
perform, and
mhm,
kind of like the always searching through a number of different links, just opening a lot of different pages, and kind of like that the knowledge is scattered, right? Especially for users that are somewhat new, right? Especially in cases where it's knowledge that is already there, kind of, and it's something that you can effectively pre-research for these, right? On the kind of like token discovery part, I think the number one application for crypto is still going to be DeFi, right? Especially with the social aspect. Um, I think there is a lot of risks, security risks involving just malicious agents, right? A permissionless infrastructure, a global ledger is always going to lead to a lot of exploits, right? People tend to abuse the global ledger a lot. Something that you could see, earlier this year. Uh, Including even the president, right? So there's been a lot of things that happened, right? And kind of like to try and prevent those situations. I can really help, right? With obvious risks. There's things that are just visible in plain sight, right, on chain, that you can check. And surprisingly, a lot of people they don't check the risks, right? And the so-called rugs are still very much frequent. So that's probably something that AI can solve. But I would say the primary one, right, and the one that I see the most value still is the research and discovery part. So just being able to replicate a workflow across, let's say, dozens potentially of tokens, right? And just some of the stuff, AI helps to kind of be this. I describe it as this link between traditional algorithms, right? Let's say like an indexing algorithm that is to analyze what's happening on chain, and then this information can then be put into a more user digestible format through AI calling given tools, right? It's some interface that is exposed. And now the hard thing, I would say, one of the biggest problems is that to create a crypto native product, right? You have to that's an agentic product. You have to create first a very good crypto infrastructure and very good crypto product, and then put the AI component on top. And a lot of the because effectively you're basically building the two at the same time. So not only do you have the issues stemming from probabilistic, sometimes sycophantic nature of AI, you also have to deal with the kind of like blockchain side of things, which is very complex. And we don't even have a product class right now. Like there's the AI chatbot thing, right? But ultimately, I think this user experience of someone coming on and exchanging a bunch of messages with an agent, I think this is dead. I don't think we have seen much user retention across probably dozens, if not hundreds, of different projects that have released agents. Even to take it further, there's launch pads for agents, and then again, there's just so much of those agents, right? And this starts to resemble the issue that we have with crypto, where we have launch pads, and then on top of that, more launch pads, right? More tokens, and it's just super scattered like this. So I think this UX is just not very natural in terms of the transactional nature of blockchain, right? As you see it, the user experience, which the culmination of the crypto user experience is transactions. It's the moment where the user purchases or sells, right? It's trading for the most part. And now it really matters, the execution, and it really matters, kind of like the being able to perform actions quick. And if you have to go and essentially describe a number of things with AI, like there's this case where you research something and then you'd like to buy it, right? This does make sense. But the problem is then that a lot of people, they have their wallets, right? They have oftentimes hardware wallets even. And if you're not building a product that is custodial in any sort of way, like self-custodial even, but like still, you essentially have to be the core of where the user stores funds. So now, same as a lot of those products that build agents, they converge and become launchpads, right? The same thing applies to, I would say, agentic AI products. Eventually, you have to converge and become either a wallet or an infrastructure platform or something along the lines of a trading bot, right? So something like Axiom or BullX. So then um, building an agentic product, you kind of have to build the other ones. And now that introduces a number of constraints, right? Because it's non-trivial, it's a very much saturated space, right? So I'd say those are some of the issues that I see. But probably the biggest one is that this is not a very natural user experience that could replace the existing user experience for most people. And even though it has like we based on analytics, right? You can see that the users, they come onto the platform, they exchange a bunch of messages, but then every day the rate of messages decreases, right? And eventually you have churn because it's simply a lot more convenient for the people to just go back to their usual, right? And one thing that I do see is a lot of people, they paste in contract addresses, right? They use kind of like the research functionality where the agent, given a contract address, it can essentially go through Twitter, right? Go through a number of tool calls, check the risk associated with a given project, and this is something that the users still use, right? And there's still like those recurring users that every day, every other day, or every few days, they're going to paste in this contract address and check it because oftentimes you find yourself in a situation where you have this blank contract address, right? But it's really difficult because at the end of the day, the product, it has to it has to make revenue, right? And for the product to work, it needs that. And it's really difficult if you cannot retain the user. So I think that the ultimate UX is not going to necessarily be a chatbot. And even though it's very promising, and even as I said at the beginning, right, it gets you into this feeling like, oh shit, that's cool. I can't wait to use it over and over. But after the initial hype phase, you're like, yeah, this is a little bit slow, right? And the other problem is that it's really hard to depend on AI unstructured, fully agentic research because this kind of issue with models that we have. If the context doesn't have the kind of like key point, it's really it's too easy for the model to skip effectively something that's good, or think of some other project that is potentially malicious as good, right? So like you have essentially false positives and true negatives because of the nature of AI. So it
Mm,
definitely needs a lot more structure. And
interesting.
yeah, but those are the things, right? That it's just really difficult to see this unless you actually go through the kind of like experience of launching the product and having a lot of different users. We had over 10,000, right? Use the platform. And only after kind of like looking through analytics and actually using it for, like repeated, only then you can see that those are some fundamental user experience flaws, right? But nothing, there's nothing, right, that cannot be overcome. And the true benefit, I'd say, is the kind of like research and discovery, and using AI more of like this sprinkle on top, right? Rather than having like full agentic apps. I'm also
That
really
totally makes
curious.
sense.
Mhm. Yeah,
I know I was gonna say that totally makes sense. Like we've also observed that on our end within the Arc ecosystem and the products that we build at Playgrounds as well, where, trying to replace the routines or the entire workflows that users or humans really are used to, especially within the crypto space, is quite challenging. And I don't think that we are quite at a place where the entire workflow or the entire, UI UX can be replaced fully, especially with chatbots or chat interfaces. But it's more of, at least from my opinion, it's more of augmenting what you already do on a day to day, not a full replacement, but just like an enhancement of what you're used to. And so I definitely align with you there on we're still quite a ways away from fully replacing, workflows and research, tasks, security, and everything else that comes with, you know, operating within the crypto space fully with AI. That's quite a product challenge. I believe that not just you, but many other founders in this space are probably contending with as well. I also specifically like your observation on the limitations of chatbots or chat interfaces as the primary UI UX for working with agentic systems. I think that it's probably not going to be the final form factor, but I'm curious to see how things evolve and what emerges. Probably something a little bit more spatial, visual, audio, or multimodality is probably going to be um, where a lot of founders and builders are going to start dabbling in as far as UI UX within the crypto space.
yeah, yeah. That's how research works, right? And
Yeah.
this is the good kind of research, because
Hmm.
we actually had the opportunity to test, right? And
Hmm.
evaluate all of those ideas. And numbers, they don't lie.
Numbers don't lie.
Yeah, there there's one more problem, and well, this is going to be a very controversial take, but more of even like on a blockchain side of things. I don't think we should tokenize everything,
Mm,
and I also think that agents that also have tokens, this is specifically dangerous because it's like a dual-edged sword, right? So it can be an potential flywheel at the beginning. And obviously, where there's hype, it's just users that then interact with the product. And they're also very like there's very good retention, right? It correlates the retention of a user that is also a token holder, and a product user. But now the problem is that the time it takes to build something truly beautiful, it outpaces hype. So
mm,
so then, right, it's tricky because if you look, let's say, at some project, right, which has plummeted in value, and that then becomes effectively like a deterrent, right, and kind of like putting because the valuation and the technology, right, they don't often go hand in hand. It's more of a market dynamics thing, right, and kind of like attention. Um, so that's a problem that listeners experience, right? It was kind of funny because the highest valuation was before the product was actually out, even though everyone was super enthusiastic and very much wanted a product, right? As soon as the product came out, probably due to market conditions and a number of other things, right? Ever since then, the price going down, it's been concerning for the community members. And the funny thing, right, is as the users numbers, right, as the kind of like prompt usage, it was breaking all time highs. The token was reaching all time lows, which I don't think should be the case, right? And now this kind of approach of because the truth is, it's really difficult also to justify and kind of like interleave the token into a product. I think the only players that can do that is products that generate tremendous amounts of fees, right? So perpetual exchanges, or just in general, just centralized exchanges, where you have buyback programs. If a protocol is to make billions of dollars potentially per year, then it totally makes sense. But now with AI agentic applications, the costs are not like I wouldn't say they're nearly as high, right? In terms of the infrastructure usage, they scale very much with the usage. And now I don't really see a justification of like a revenue buyback thing because that wouldn't really work, right? Even if even if you look at those platforms that are used by traders that trade like a lot in volume, right? Or protocols that are the industry standard these days. They also generate loads of fees, and oftentimes the best products that generate most revenue, they don't have a token. Even entire chains, right, L1s that never recovered simply because of lack of this kind of like flywheel effect. You can observe it for any chain, right? Sui is a great example. As soon as Sui goes up in value, all of a sudden the on-chain becomes vibrant again. And as soon as it plummets, on-chain becomes dead. It's been the same case with Solana, right? We've only seen the kind of like insane, because well, it's hard to put it differently, levels of on-chain usage in the past that was driven by Solana going up in value by like 10 times, right? So all of a sudden everyone that had Solana, right, and any product that would be denoted in Solana, the value would also go up a lot, right? And then this is where the hyperbolic growth, the kind of like exponential when parabolas happen, this period. So, um, yeah, and for the products that have launched, right, and they've had a token and the token has plummeted, it's really difficult to come back, for a number of reasons. But yeah, this is how it's like a dual-edged sword, and
I agree.
the constant hype and the well, you have to pick one of the ways, right? Especially if you have a lean team. It's really difficult to drive attention at the same time with constant announcements and just new features, and then not introducing tremendous feature bloat to the product and kind of like doing everything at the same time and becoming one of those do everything but do nothing well at the same time products. So yeah, I would say it's tricky, right? And there
Yeah,
probably is a better way.
there probably is a better way. This has been a really, really good deep dive, and I really appreciate your candidness on the complexities of building within the crypto space specifically, but then add in AI applications into this crazy space that we're in. It's really fascinating, and it's very clear that you have a solid grasp of the challenges, the complexity, but you also have the technical foundation into how to build within the space. It's not trivial, and things are moving really, really quickly. But I really commend you for still, as they say, chewing the glass and staring into the abyss and trying to find where the value is and how to really expedite on the development of things with your R&D. I want to move over to your product specifically, and maybe we can, you know, keep things like a rapid fire approach to get the audience to understand what you're building and understand the value prop of it as well. So if you could give us in demo in your own words a walkthrough of the typical journey with using your listen products? What does someone actually do with your platform?
At the very core, it's a fully agentic app, right? So there is no structure kind of put, and the model has the freedom to go whatever routes they want, right? From the user perspective, it's more of like you could imagine ChatGPT for crypto, right? So you can do a number of things, right? The model is able to trade. The model is able to help you perform different tasks, right? Like you can have it help you rebalance, help you evaluate charts, right? Look at charts, basically identify different levels, help you with risk management. But now it's completely intent driven. So something that I found is pretty funny. If you put the right tools, right, and the model has access to the right tools, it can answer a lot of interesting questions just by performing research, right, and using its capabilities. So it's more of like kind of like all-in-one thing, right? You're effectively presented with a blank canvas, and then you can perform research and discovery. You can also use the execution layer, and pretty much ask about anything, right?
Amazing. Okay, that's really cool. And what models or techniques are you using? Like, for example, are you using custom models? Are you fine-tuning existing one? Are you just using, existing models that are out there, like GPT, Anthropic? And also, are you orchestrating multiple, AI systems together for your product?
Yeah. So the backbone, it's Gemini family models, simply because they are
Okay.
super fast. I personally use Anthropic for most things on a daily basis. The 3.5, the 3.5 new, so called, that was also the backbone for a while. But then the issue with that is that it's pretty slow and it cannot call tools in parallel. So the cool thing about Gemini is it can call three, let's say, tools at the same time and retrieve more information. Kind of like it's also super fast, so it's able to provide answers fast enough for the user not to get sidetracked. I would say so. In terms of workflow orchestration, there's one instance, effectively two instances where this is used. There is something along the lines of a swarm, but it's a two agent approach where if there's research, right, or if there's some heavily unstructured data, which would then flood the context, right? Because if you were to look, let's say, at 200 candlesticks, right, open, high, low, close, that's effectively about 30,000 tokens. It could be even, added to the conversation, depending on how much metadata you include. But that's a lot to process, right? To kind of prevent this, there is distiller models that extract the most relevant information, provide a summary. They are also customized. They take intent as an input. So if there is something specific to include in the analysis, they can do that. And now the example of where there's another agent that kind of like takes over is deep research. There is a deep research integration where you can go and have a structure outlined to answer a given question. And then each of the kind of like each of the points is going to be delegated to a specialized agent that can perform more calls to see more tools, and then it's specialized, right? So you break up something that is very complex to smaller subtasks that are delegated to other models, right? It's sequential to ensure that if one of the steps in the research it unveils new information, then the model it can steer the research into the right direction, right? So pick whether to continue, whether to maybe reevaluate the initial points, right? And it works pretty well, I would say. So in terms of the workflow orchestration, that's two layers potentially.
Mm, Okay, that's really really interesting. And so far, since you've launched Listen, what is an interesting revelation that you've had, whether it's from users using your product, it's from you building the product, any surprising insights that meant, make you sit back and go, whoa, that's interesting.
Mm, I would say, I'd say so. It's probably that I'd be surprised on how the models would bend the tools, right, to find
Mm.
answers to given things. So oftentimes, right, if the model would be asked about some token that it doesn't have access to, right, it's going to fall back to
Yeah.
different tools to still try and provide the best answer. And that's generally a trade of the models, right? That I absolutely love about AI. That there's nothing that's unachievable, right? And even if the model has kind of like it's not going to be able to perform the task, it's going to still give it its best shot. And I've seen some so in terms of revelation, I was extremely surprised on how people perceive AI, right? And the kind of prompts that we've received, some of them. So a lot of things were just like it makes you sit down and think about like, wow, how would I go about answering this? And if I were to like orchestrate, right? How do I answer that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, some of the stuff more of like very broader market questions, right? Very much like some people would ask for like crazy things, just like market making strategies. But like probably the most common misconception is that AI systems they're able to continuously perform things in the background. Just like people they tend to humanize AI a lot, and at the end of the day, it's just a call in a way, right? So you call the model and then you get the answer. It's not as if you can ask it to perform a given task. The way you achieve this is by employing a traditional algorithm, right? That it can then potentially call AI again, or in general, just run in background, very much in the traditional
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, the same way the regular algorithms work, right?
yeah.
So then, a lot of products that promise like automated yield optimization. Well, that's more of like it's not as if the AI were to continuously monitor every new data entry and check, because that's very much inefficient, and it'd be a fast track to burning a lot of resources. It would either be just like scheduled, right? So every few hours, the model would then try to rebalance a given position rate with LP, for example, or there would be a manual strategy that is just triggered by the model. Model is more on like the kind of like interface part. Same as you can interface over swapping. You can ask for what the token, what the input and the output of the swap is, right? Very very similar. And then the underlying swap is just a traditional algorithm.
No, that makes total sense, and thanks for sharing that with us. Uh, Perhaps we can move over to the landscape. You're not the only one building in this space. There's many people who are also trying to, tackle on the challenge. If you c- if you can just give us like a quick overview on who else is playing within your domain, like who are your competitors, and do you have any advantage over them, or are we all really just in the R&D phase right now?
I would say the latter. I would say a lot of projects they probably cope, and they probably they want to maintain the attention. Obviously, a lot of things are better left unspoken. Probably the token holders, so would not be very happy to hear that all of the users are, like most of the users are Web3 users that are also token holders looking for validation towards their investment. And there's not like a recurring kind of use driven purely by the value the product provides. I would say it's been an incredible research attempt, right? And it's unveiled a lot, right? I have learned so much. Also about AI, just like a very good example is how memory. It's super super difficult to come up with a good memory system for something like Web3, because it's an ever changing data set, right? Which is also like a very good example is a token with the same name and two different addresses, right? It's those kinds of cases, right? It's really difficult to treat them.
Mm,
I've done a lot of
mhm.
research on that, but I feel like probably a lot of the competitors they've also kind of seen that, right? And they see the usage profile. for the products, and they see the bursts in activity driven by airdrops, right, or just in general announcements of yet another feature. But yeah, ultimately, maybe I'm defensively pessimistic here, but I think there's more to it. We have to probably change the way we interact with the models in terms of specifically Web3. There's more to it. Um, yeah, but I'd say there's a lot of feature overlap, right? Most agents they can perform some level of research and discovery, and then some level of execution. This level is going to vary. There's different players in the space, obviously, but a lot of them are reusing the same data providers. Something that I saw a strength of Listen in the past was that we we would index, right? I built this cool indexer that indexes every trade in real time that happens in Solana. And then based on that, you could extract different insights, right? And I have this data set of tokens. It's over 600,000 right now. Of just different tokens that have graduated and they have touched liquidity pools, right? So this is the kind of numbers in terms of noise that we're dealing with. Um, but yeah, I'd say in terms of the competitors, the features are they converge, right? And there is probably not like a differentiator. I would be pleasantly surprised to hear that there is some AI platform in the kind of like purely agentic or mostly agentic that has recurring users, and the users they are there every day, utilizing AI for their daily workflows.
Yeah, thank you. And my last question, in a few words or less, where do you see this whole space in the next 2 to 3 years?
I think there's going to be a disruptor. I think there's going to be something that is just going to change the game, right? And it's not going to be a chatbot, right? But I think there's going to be a traditional product that is very good at what it does, and then it has the AI component, utilizing what AI truly has to offer and not focusing on this kind of like, wow, this is cool, but focusing more on, wow, I can't imagine not using it every day. This is amazing, right? I see that the kind of like a relationship, the same thing as a lot of people they're onboarded through just the social aspect of crypto. They have the crypto friend, or maybe they sit in Telegram groups. They have someone to kind of like introduce them to Web3, and I think this person isn't going to be a person; it's going to be AI, and that we are going to have this relationship with agents. But yeah, there there's going to be a huge product, something that is just completely going to disrupt.
I love that. Wow. Wow, wow. Thank you so much. Your perspective is super valuable, and I'm sure to our listeners, they're finding all of this really exciting. And I can't wait to see the feedback and comments that pours in once this episode is live. So now we're going to transition into what I like to call the rapid fire segment. In here, it's 30 seconds or less to answer some rapid fire questions. We have a few that are coming in from our community and also a few that I've put together. There'll be about 5 or 6 of them, and you just rapid fire and answer. Are you ready?
Mhm. Yeah, let's get it.
Let's get it. What is one crypto project that everyone should be watching?
Hyperliquid.
Hyperliquid, love it. One AI development that will change everything.
I think it's already out. Yeah,
Love it. That's okay.
I think it's the second generation Cloud Sonnet, the Cloud Sonnet 3.5 new.
I love it. Perfect. Perfect. What is one of the best advice you've received as a founder?
Obsession wins in the long term.
Perfect. I've heard the same thing too. And this is a little bit more personal. What's something that you, Piotrek, believe about the future of technology that most people would disagree with?
We should be using technology to use technology less.
That's perfect. That's perfect. And then these next 3 questions are specifically for those who are new or don't know about the listening community or what you're building. Can you tell us Snapshot. What is Listen?
Crypto everything AI.
I love it. And final question. Do you think that it's safe to use AI for investments?
Not if you've used it for other things and you understand how it works.
I love that. And there's actually one more question that came in. What is one thing that you've learned building in this space that you wish you knew when you started?
Don't launch a beta.
Don't mention data. That's perfect.
I'd say that like branding, right? And kind of like the simplicity. Maybe it's launching a product, right? To research and look for the product market fit. Like there are consequences, and it's more of like a thing where if you were to launch something, it's way better to have something that is a lot leaner, something that is super simple, and it does one thing, it does it well, rather than kind of like trying to satisfy all of the users, right? At the same time, like yeah, it's just like it's so easy to overcomplicate.
Well, thank you so much. That wraps up our rapid fire questions. And just to conclude, if someone is listening and excited about what you're building or wants to reach out to you, how can they get in contact with you and your community, Piotrek?
XDMs.
DMs and on Twitter.
Yeah, I read all of them.
You read all of them. That's perfect. That's perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time, Pierre Trek. This has been a wonderful, wonderful, and fascinating podcast with you. It's been really cool hearing everything that you're building and working on, where your mind's at, and I'm really excited to see, the progression of Listen and you as a founder in this space.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, that's it for this episode of Hello Complex. A special, big, big thank you to Piotrek from Listen for joining me, and to you all, our audience, listening in today. If you want to learn more about AI, the evolution of the agentic space, the evolution of crypto AI, head over to arc.fun and also visit our newest product, canvas.rhizome.ai. And don't forget to give us a follow on the Arc social media on Twitter. You'll find all the link in the show notes. Until then, see you next time.